Okay, we've talked about content. We're having world-class content. We've talked about commerce, meaning the distribution and how we're going to get the money. Well, I want to take a further look into the community and show you our compensated communities and actually show you some examples from our compensation plan. I encourage you to get the life compensation plan that you can get from the person who brought you tonight. They can give you more specific examples. But I'm going to give you 3 different scenarios tonight. And the way I like to look at it is what's the worst thing that can happen to you all the way to actually treating this like a business. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes on each one, but I highly encourage you to get the life compensation plan so that you can get more information on that. You know, one of the great things about what we do is that, you know, being part of a community, let's just say that you decided to hold your spot in what it is that we do, and because you held your spot, you know, you thought, you know, maybe in the future I might build a business with it, but right now I just want to develop myself. Well, I want to show you what would happen if you just held your spot and you went ahead and continued to develop yourself. See, the team compensation plan, or I should say the life compensation plan, when you look at this life compensation plan, this is what we call PV, point value. Market share is another way to look at it. And as your team climbs up, as you create more and more volume up on this team, it's going to climb up this PV chart, and your percentage is going to continue to climb. It's pretty cool, actually, when you get started, and you start to see communities being built, and you start to watch your own personal percentage continue to go up based on the team volume. And so let's say that you held a spot. That's the worst thing that can happen to you. Well, the worst thing that can happen to you is you're going to have leaders. You've got many leaders in the room. This is what they do for a living. And we're going to go down, we're going to build communities of people like we do. And when we build those communities of people, you're going to continue to go up through that performance chart that you see right here, eventually getting to the 50%. And when you get up to the 50% bonus chart, what does that mean for you, the person who's just holding their spot? Well, that means you get 50% off of your subscription. So the worst thing that could happen to you is, let's say you're on a life subscription. You're developing yourself, you're getting better with your family, you're getting better in your marriage, you're doing all those things, and actually, so it's helping you in every area of your life, and then you spend $50 on a subscription to life, and the life company the very next month sends you back a check for $25, 50% off of what you already spent. See, really, that's the worst thing that can happen to you if you hold your spot. Now, if you don't ever plan on building a business, remember what I talked about? Being a customer is absolutely free. But holding your spot, the worst thing that could happen to you is you get a very good discount. And the great thing about it is you can actually watch that discount kind of go through. Now, that's example number 1, the worst thing. What if you just wanted to kind of recommend this, I don't know, at your convenience? Now, understand, we know success is not convenient. But what if you just wanted to just get out there and recommend it at your convenience? Now, to me, this is interesting because I think you're going to recommend it. I think you're going to recommend it a lot. I don't find very many people who go out and listen to this material and read this world-class content and not recommend it to people. So what happens if you just did that? You still were just developing yourself, but as you came across CDs and books that you knew would make a big difference in people's lives, you started to recommend it. And as you started to recommend that, let's say as you got to the top of the charts, you're at the 50% bracket up here, and you go out and you start recommending it, and maybe you recommend it to 6 people over a 6-month period, and you get 6 customers. 6 customers at 50 PV each is 300 PV. So you could recommend this. I mean, it's as simple as, you know, you're at work one night and you're listening to you listen to a finance CD the day before, and this guy at work, he comes up to you and he starts, you know, talking to you about, man, I'm so far in debt and I'm so far this, and just talking all about finances. And you just say, you know what, I've got something that you'll like. I've got something that'll help you. And you hand him that finance CD. He comes back the next day and says, where did you get that? And boom, there's your first customer. And what if you just occurred a few customers over time? And over that time, great thing about what we do is that from that 300 PV that you generated, half of that, 50% of that, goes back into your pocket, $150, including whatever you purchase. So maybe you're still on that $50 subscription, so it's $150 plus your $25. And that month, you get a check for $175. Now, does that happen if you don't do anything? Well, of course not. But man, pick up some customers in what it is that we do, and it can be some pocket money for you along the way. So that's example number 2. What if you just kind of recommended this conveniently? Well, I want to spend the most time talking about being inconvenient. Because, you know, if you choose to be inconvenient, man, the results can be huge. And so I want to give you an example, just a simple example of two things. Number one, I want to talk to the person out there that has heard, well, is this a pyramid, or is this one of those things out there? Is this, is this that? I want to talk to that because I want to show you how this is the opposite of what a pyramid is. In fact, the whole reason I'm standing in front of you, because this is the most fair pay plan you can find out there. I was in a situation where, for me, I taught for a certain amount of years, and at 10 years I maxed out. And when I maxed out at 10 years, guess what? Didn't matter how good I was at my job. The guy down the hallway that had worked 10 years was making the same amount of money that I was. And in my case, that didn't make me always so happy all the time, because I loved what I did. But you know what? I was paid based on what? Based on the number of years that I was working. See, here, that's not how it works. Here, it's who does the work is the person who gets the most, the results. And I love that. And so how does it work? Well, I'm going to give you an example. And this is where this team right here is at 6,000 points. And you build another community because you're treating this like a business. Because here's the thing, as you move through this compensation plan, the first two examples, you're just personally developing yourself. We're recommending it at your convenience. Here, you're treating it like a business. When you start treating it like a business, we're going to teach you how to build communities. And this is going to be your apprentice team. And as we teach you how to build that community, you're going to get to understand through our system. And I highly recommend, if you're looking at building communities, if you're looking at business development, talk to the person who brought you tonight about our business system so that you can listen to CDs and come to events that will help you build compensated communities. And you're going to use, this right here is going to be your apprentice community, and then you're going to step out on your own at some point and build your own compensated community. And when you do that, let's just give you an example of, well, let's give a solid example. Let's say that you are a patient of Dr. No. Okay? And Dr. No happened to run into somebody who was on the Life program, and he was a patient of Dr. No's. And so what happened was he kind of came in there and he was listening to this material, and he noticed that Dr. No's bedside manner wasn't very good. And so he very nicely, or maybe not, depending on his people skills, right? He very nicely recommended to Dr. No, I've got some great material that you might really like. Okay? And so Dr. No, he went ahead and held his spot, but all he wanted from that was example number one. Just the opportunity to personally develop and maybe get a decent discount. So here he is listening to all of this, and you are a patient of his also. And you come in as a patient one day, and you just know, like, what's wrong with Dr. No? Like, there's something up. And so you ask him, what's going on, Dr. No? Like, what you been doing lately? And you're in a great mood. And he says, well, I've been listening to these CDs. You know, I got him through this gentleman's life. I'm a customer of this leadership development program. It's awesome. And there's a business attached to it, but I don't do the business. I'm just a customer. And you hear two words, right? Number one, you hear development. And number two, you hear business. And you're like, I'm looking. And so you ask Dr. No, well, how do I do this thing? And how do I get a part of this personal leadership community and do this business? Well, I don't know, but call this person. And so you call that person. He gives the phone number to you, and you give him a call. And so you get started right under Dr. No. But remember, Dr. No is not interested in doing anything but getting a decent discount. I want to show you in a month what Dr. No would make versus what you would make if you treated this like a business. Okay? So let's look at this example. Okay, we're saying right here that as an example, in one just quick picture, right, a month picture, this team is at 6,000 points, and this team over here is at 3,500 points. Okay, you up here are doing 200 PV. Why are you doing 200 PV? Because you're building this as a business. We have a program that will help you build this. It's called Power Player, and we all do 200 PV. And let's say you just carried over the 300, you've got 300 PV in customers. You've got 600 or 6 different customers, and so you've got 300 points in customers, 200 points that you're doing. You may have a few customers in that 200 points, so you're doing a total of 500, which gets you to what? Well, you've got 6,000 here, 3,500 here, plus your 500 equals, class?
10,000.
10,000. Look at, they're still awake. Excellent. 10,000 points. So let's go back to the chart. We are at 10,000, which puts us at the 45%. So we're not quite to the top of the charts yet. Okay, so you're not even at the top of the chart in this example. All right? So let's look at what you would make in that day if these were the numbers. Well, see, when you work your way up this chart, as you get to this point, this person right here, okay, has 6,000 points. and you have 10,000 points. So 6,000 from 10,000, if you look at the bracket over here, the difference between 10,000 and 6,000 is 5%. So on this team, you get paid a commission of 5%. 5% of 6,000 is $300. Okay? On this team over here, the top of this team is 3,500. Okay? And you're at 10,000. So if we look at 3,500, 3,500 is at 30%, and you're at 10,000, that's at 45%. That's a 15% difference. So you get 15% of 3,500, which is $525. So if you take your $525 and your $300, and then you add it to the $90 discount, because you get 45%, remember you're at 45% bracket, so you get 45% back of your $200, that's $90, and you get 45% back of your $300, which is $135. So you take that $135, $90, $525, and $300, and you add all of that up. Do we have any quick math students in here? 1,050. You must be an engineer. And you are, right? $1,050 you made that month. That's a pretty decent wage in 1 month. But what does Dr. No make? That was my question. This is a pyramid. By Dr. No, I did all this work and all this volume's going up. What does Dr. No make? Dr. No makes what? Well, he's at 10,000 plus his 50. So he's at 10,050 total. You're at 10,000, right? So if we write these up, as every math teacher would do, right? 10,050, 10,000. Which one's bigger? 10,050, right? So he technically has more volume going through, but yet he doesn't take advantage of differentials because he didn't do the work. So what does he get? He gets 45% of 50. What's 45% of 50? $22.50, I believe, right? So he gets $22.50. And the same month he gets $22.50, you get $1,050. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to free enterprise. Absolutely. The amazing part about this, I love talking about this. And the reason I love talking about it is because all I ever wanted was a fair shot. All I ever wanted was the opportunity that if I go do the work, I make the money. Does that mean I don't want Dr. No to make money? No. But what I want Dr. No to do is go out there and do his own work. I'll even help him by building a huge team and helping him build a huge team underneath. But he's got to go do the work if he wants the results. Man, if only all of America was like that. Wouldn't that be great? So regardless of whether you're looking at number one, you just want a great personal discount, but maybe you're going to hold your spots because later on you're going to, because here's the best part, as this community builds, you don't lose your spot. As long as you renew it once a year, you hold on to that spot. And as you hold on to that spot, the team keeps getting bigger. Why? Because I know the leaders in this room. I know what they're going to go out there and do because they build compensated communities. That's what they do. So whether you're in this position, getting a personal discount, whether you want to recommend it conveniently, or whether you want to treat it in a business, I believe this is the most fair compensation plan, and I also believe it's one of the most lucrative compensation plans out there. And like I said, get a hold of this. There's some more detailed examples. I just showed you a little example of what you could make. $1,000 is nothing to sneeze at, that's for sure, especially in that economy. Can you imagine having $1,000 into your household every single month? That's extra upon everything else that's going in. Or not coming in, I guess we could say, right? So make sure you check this out to the fullest extent because our content is world class. Our compensation is structured basically from the 5 steps down to 2. Sharing at 70% is amazing. When we look at our compensated communities, awesome. Absolutely awesome. Thousands of customers have joined in the first few months. We are super excited. So you make sure you check this out all the way to the hill.